Robert Crimo, the 22-year-old accused of killing now 7 people and wounding dozens of others in the Chicago neighborhood's 4th of July parade, is being charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder.
So it turns out that he had been investigated by the local police before. So often this early chatter is wrong. They had contact with him despite what the initial report said. In 2019, officers had responded after someone reported that Crimo had tried to kill himself, and a few months later they came to his home seizing a knife collection after a family member reported he had pledged to, quote, kill everyone.
Despite the red flags, reports confirm that Crimo purchased 5 guns in total legally, including the rifle used in the massacre.
And the details here are kind of interesting because, so everybody's thinking, well, why, if the police had come to his home because he threatened to kill himself and others and confiscated a collection of knives, well, then how and why was he able to purchase a gun? Shouldn't that have come up in background checks? But it sounds like 2 things. One, because there were no charges actually filed, no one wanted to press charges against him. I guess it didn't become like a matter of public record or something that would be picked up. And also his father, so he was not old enough, I guess, to purchase these guns on his own, but his father sponsored like his request to get the right permit.
The father of the boy that threatened to kill his own family sponsored the permit for him to get the guns.
Right, and thus I think incurs some potential liability for actions taken with these guns. So that will be something to look out for, whether that gets the dad in trouble. Obviously, that was a really, really, really terrible lapse of judgment. I don't know that, but like if somebody else is going to irresponsibly procure you weapons.
Yeah.
Like that's the exact kind of issue that like how do we can't get around that because that could always happen. Do you know what I mean?
Do we know that the father purchased all 5 guns, including the one he used for the massacre?
I'm not. I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Listen.
So he could have just done. You know, the dad had a clean record. He could have purchased guns anywhere at any time, and then just had them in the home for this kid to use them. Because obviously, I don't think someone who has expressed the violent tendencies the way this individual did, the Crimo, the kid.
Yeah.
He's not a kid. The 22-year-old, the shooter.
You're right.
The dad is junior. He's the third. The dad is junior, and the grandfather is senior. So it's the terminology. He should not. I think even though I'm a robust supporter of the Second Amendment, I am perfectly comfortable saying he should not have been allowed to purchase weapons, given that the police had to confiscate knives from his home after he threatened to harm people.
Yeah.
But then the question becomes, well, what is the right law that actually prevents that? Because you would want a background check to pick up something like this, but if no one actually presses charges, or the police don't, or the police decide just like, well, oh well.
But I think that there is a beautiful point. Because it shows a reflection on how our system handles these things. I don't know anybody. I represent tons of people that are arrested for far less. The fact that the police, it's not about whether or not the complainant presses the charges. There's a myth that we perpetuate all over the world, all over our media and everywhere, that it's about whether you press the charges. That's not the case. If someone makes an accusation to the police, it's the police and the prosecutor's office that actually decide whether or not to press charges. And they very often remind you that when people say they don't want to. So why in this case, when this white boy is accused of doing these things, did the police opt not to press the charges? I wonder why that's the case in the first place. So I do think there is some level of policing failure.
Sometimes they only do it if the quote unquote victims want it, right?
But there should not really, not in my experience. Lots of my cases, there is a complainant even sitting in court saying they don't want the charges, and they still regularly. The amount of orders of protection and charges that the prosecutor's gone forward with, despite the fact that we have the complainant sitting right there saying no, is unbelievable. I would say, first of all, I think that this is some level of a policing failure. I'm not gonna, even if I were prepared to give the police a pass on the first arrest, or not, maybe when he was called, they were called because he was threatening a threat to himself. I don't think that an arrest should have been made there, but I do think some kind of domestic incident, some kind of history, some kind of report should have been made. But by the second time a call is made and you have to come and get knives, and that the whole family, he's threatened to kill the entire family, why wasn't an arrest made there? Why wasn't a domestic incident report made there. I think there should have been some kind of monitoring over the situation. In the case of his father being able to buy these guns, you already know y'all have come now to go deal with this boy twice. You know that he's a threat to his family. You know there's some kind of dynamics here. Assuming the family doesn't want to press charges, that still to me gives you a reason to kind of monitor the situation, be aware, see what's happening. So I do think it's a policing failure to some degree. Not the biggest policing failure. I'll give them.
Well, this is what we want when we talk about, we've talked about red flag laws on the show quite a bit. And this is the scenario where you want the red flag law to kick in.
Right.
But obviously that requires someone else to contact police and say there are red flags.
Right.
Someone like the dad in this role. But not only did they not do that, they overlooked the sign, or they knew about the signs and bought and had weapons in the home and then purchased weapons for him specifically.
Yeah, you know,
which is just really reckless behavior, and we're never gonna ultimately criminalize or prevent just wildly reckless behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolute recklessness and negligence. I don't know. My understanding of it was that these guns were legally purchased by him. I don't know the parameters on what his father's role in. Did he buy them all? Did he know? I have to know more of it to really make my condemnations. For now, if I'm assuming it's the father who bought them, then I can't see necessarily how the red flag laws would have prevented those if the father's making these straw purchases. But just based on the fact that the media continuously reports these as legal purchases, and straw purchases would not be. They would not fall under that parameter of legal purchases. It leads me to believe he probably did have a direct role in purchasing some of these guns, at which point that is a policing failure. That is a failure of people to abide by these laws. So.